That's looking good. Let's fix everything up. Make sure no one can interrupt us. Perfect. So at this point in time, I'm just going to be recording everything onto my iPad. And we're pretty much going to be going live from here. This is pretty daunting for me because I don't know what I'm doing technical wise. But welcome aboard to my first Instagram live, but this is also me just recording my podcast on something that I've always wanted to talk about, which was how momentum started. And it really, first of all, before all of that happened, was about the post that I made on Wednesday about how thankful I was to be in the position that I'm in. And it was definitely a lot of failure. It was a scary time, it was a fun time, but now we're going to talk about it. So in case you don't know me, my name is Sean. I am the part owner of Momentum and founder as well. I own it with my lovely fiance, Nancy. And we're going to talk about basically how I started as a personal trainer and where it all went. But it actually starts before that, when I was in high school. Now, there were two questions that were also brought through to our Instagram live on my Ask Me Anything. And if you ever want to send me a photo or a question, feel free to pop that into the Instagram live and I'll answer it if I remember, because my podcast is going to be the reason why I'm doing this. So I was in high school in 2009, and like most high schools, you had to do the old, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now, at my school, we had to bring our parent in, and my mum goes, what would you like to do, Sean? And I said, I want to do something in the sports field, and I want to be a physiotherapist. Well, that's embarrassing. And I didn't get there. And I thought, maybe I'll be a personal trainer. And the lady goes to me, the careers counselor, she goes, you should think about being a personal trainer if you want to. And you can go to the Australian Institute of Fitness. That's where I went. But my mum goes, no, you don't want to be that. You want to go to uni. I'm like, yes, I do want to go to uni. This is just something I want to tick off in my life. Fast forward, I actually changed my mind about 3 times that year. And I actually wanted to be a Japanese teacher because, well, that's what I studied. I actually found a passion in it, in language, and it was just so much fun learning that language. But at the end of 2009, when I went to university, and the choices were there, my mum goes, hey, look, maybe you should read this paragraph from the news, or the newspaper, if people still read those things. And it was talking about a person who had done a Asian studies, majoring in Japanese and Chinese, and a commerce degree, and finding it very hard to find jobs. I probably shouldn't have changed, but at the end of the day, I thought to myself, my lifestyle is more about sports. At the time I was playing basketball, and it's going to be quite rough for me to give that up. So I decided to try and get into physiotherapy. I didn't get the score that I needed, and I ended up enrolling in a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Science at UWA. Long story short, me being at UWA was probably the most eye-opening experience because I hated that degree with a passion. I was in labs for 3 hours. I was pipetting microscopic microbes and everything into just test tubes, and it was the worst experience ever. And everything smelled like formaldehyde. And for those of you who don't know what formaldehyde is, it's the chemical that they use to preserve the cadavers. And I learned a lot. I saw a lot of cadavers. I saw so many brains. I learned so much. But it wasn't for me because there was no personal interaction. I wasn't learning anything skills-wise that was going to go and help me in the real world, so to speak. So, luckily, and this is what I say about, hi honey, this is what I say about failing, and fail hard if you're going to do it, and just pivot and zig and zag. So if you're going to fail hard and try and land, because I failed 5 of my 8 units in this year, and I basically got told to take a gap year, and I was like, no, I will not take a gap year. And I ended up going to Curtin, and luckily this was the first year where they offered the sports science degree. I enrolled in that, not knowing any better because I didn't want to go to Murdoch because it was too far away, and I did not want to go to ECU because that was even further, which offered sports science. And for some reason Notre Dame was a big no-no for me because Fremantle, not for me, I'm not like the ocean. And so I enrolled for Curtin Sports Science, and that was started in in the February of 2011. So in 2010, that summer, where I failed my courses and got told to take leave, I said, you know what, I'm going to go learn something. I'm going to go to the Australian Institute of Fitness and do my Cert 3 and Cert 4. And the only reason why I knew about that was because of that careers counselor that we talked about before. And it was only a 6-week course. I learnt quite a bit. It was funny because I knew how to train. I was training. At that point in time, I was 47 kilos going on 85 or 80 kilos. And I wasn't a chubby 85. But I was training. But all I knew was training hard. Because when you learn to do something when you're younger, it's a ball to the wall, do it as hard as you can, and if you sink, you laugh and you give up, or you swim and you go, that's the only way. Now I'm going to tell you right now, don't ever go balls to the wall. You do the best that you can, but manage it. But at that point in time, going 47 to 85 kilos and looking significantly different, I thought I knew all the answers to it. So being a personal trainer there, I learnt how to, or doing the course of personal training, should I say, I learned how to talk, communicate, and do the practical sides of knowing what we can and can't do as personal trainers. But had you been in training already, basically you just needed that paper as a certificate to show that you can't be sued for malpractice. Also, because it's good to know. From there, it actually didn't work because working was a bit of a commitment being a personal trainer, and I was told to always try and find the right gym. So at that stage, I was training at a big box gym, and at that point in time, 24/7 gyms were not big. There was only a handful of them, and I never wanted to be in a 24/7 gym. So I was training at this gym that I was at. I was there for 2 years, and I happened to be squatting, and I knew that the guy to my right was the fitness manager, and he was probably the best person that I've ever worked for in the fitness industry, if not the second or third best. And I asked him, I said, hey, look, I'm a personal trainer and my name's Sean. Introduced myself, and I said, can we have a chat about possibly job offerings? From there, it was a matter of signing the contract, but he himself also said, make sure you make the right decision if you're going to be in uni still, because being at uni and also running a business is very hard. And I thought, yeah, I can do this. I can do it. But when you do this thing, you're paying rent to a business, you're going to uni, you need to pass it, and then you're trying to put your training on top. I learned at a very young age that running a business on fitness is less about the fitness and more about the business. But how much do I know about that now? I know more. But back then you knew about it, but how much to a degree do you know about it is a different story. I was there for maybe in total about 14 months, and I failed hard once again. I failed so hard that basically I had about $100 to my name afterwards when I paid out my contract, and I was still trying to keep on top of my training. And I don't advise this in any way at all, but to keep my calories up so I didn't, so forth, shrink, for those guys listening out there, I paid for $4.95 pizzas at Domino's and ate my 3,000 calories to maintain the mass while still training. So that was a very interesting experience. And because of that, it actually set me back for a few years, because I saved so much money for this course. I was doing really good jobs beforehand, and then I put all my money into this business, which I basically let fail. And I learnt from that. So I told myself, I'm just going to get some work, I'm going to focus on my studies and graduate from my course at Curtin University. So I ended up finishing my sports science degree, working normal jobs. I made enough money to get by each week. I was very fortunate to be in that position as well. And I got offered a role with my personal training background, which I'm very thankful that I have, before I even graduated from my course at uni. And this job let me train people, work on health, tell them about mentality. It was 360, not just build muscle and so forth. It was also about social connections and mental health. And it was great because you got to fly around Australia a little bit doing that, but I didn't last long because it was in the mining industry, and mining industry can be quite fickle. So I came back to Perth, and this is where I'd say one of the people I worked for back then is still very influential now. And I was able to basically become a gym manager. And that was definitely one of the most fun years of my life. I got to obviously make some money and never had to worry about money again. And then from there, I learned some skills about the actual business. This is how a gym is run, this is what you need to do, and this is what you're responsible for. Now, I love that side, but at that point in time, I still missed training people and helping people. And a friend of mine from my previous gym, where I ran that initial business that just sunk, she calls me up and goes, a personal trainer has left and she's been there for about 5 years and she's looking to sell the business. Would you be interested in buying it? And there was a bit of fear in me wanting to do it because I was like, what if I fail again? Because that's my type of personality. I focus on the failures as opposed to the wins. And I told myself I couldn't do it. If I'm going to do that, I need to make sure that I am more qualified. So I told myself I'll go back to uni and I'm going to go and enroll in a course for exercise physiology, and that way I'll become an exercise physiologist. Now, during this time, it was different because it was not what I was expecting. I already knew what my niche was, already knew what my market was, or I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with active populations that already were active. I wanted to change lives and help them get a little bit stronger, or I wanted to work towards the strength conditioning sides as well. But at that stage, I was training as myself, more as a powerlifter, and I thought this is a great sport. I still do, but how can I cater to them? So when I was going through the whole exercise physiology degree, I didn't want to do anything with multiple sclerosis and MS and falls prevention. Eventually now I do, which is a funny thing, but I really wanted to focus on how can I help those who are trying to get stronger in their sports and prevent injuries or fix injuries. So going through a whole year of hip replacements and knee replacements and shoulder surgery and medications and things that I thought were not for me ended up being things for me. So make sure you try things. It was one of the encounters with my very first patient at my very first prac. And this was a lady with a stroke. And basically she gave me a gift at the end of my first 2-week placement. And it was just a small little thank you. It's actually on my Instagram, so if you can find it, go for it. If not, I'm actually going to see if I can post it onto grams later, onto the story. So I'm just going to write it on my reminder right here. And it was a small chocolate gift. And she goes, thank you so much for your help. I think you're going to be a great exercise physiologist. This is 2 weeks into my prac. I had no idea what I was doing. The only thing I knew was how to train a healthy person, if anything. And who knows if I actually made an influence on her, but she made an influence on me. So it was very lovely. And from there, the prac as well started going up and up. So I started learning more about, like I said, hip replacements, knee replacements, and how to rehab those, ACLs, which was very interesting. But it still wasn't quite in the field that I wanted to do. So this is where I'm going to give a very big shout out to a person that I thought first was very scary. But this was Christian Woodford, where he started talking more about strength conditioning, and we start to think, what does strength and conditioning really mean? Here's a high performance, and I believe that strength conditioning now, if you ask me, is conditioning towards any lifestyle that you live currently. So strength conditioning is a global term to me, and exercise is also a global term. There is no better exercise, there's none of that. It's just making sure you do it correctly given to your lifestyle and your goal. So I knew that I wanted to get out of uni. I didn't want to work for anyone, and I wanted to try and build a business where I can go, this is our exercise physiology or strength conditioning service that we provide for all walks of life. Now, I tried that, and I went back to the initial gym that I failed at because I thought that this was just the place where I would want to redeem myself. And I went there and we called it reflex physiology. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a sidestep. Stephen actually asked the question, why did you change the name from reflex physiology to momentum? Well, first of all, I won't tell you why, but I am going to say that reflex physiology was always mistaken for reflexology. I was like, no. And the amount of times that people would call us or message me like, hey, can I get some reflexology? I'm like, no, you can't, because I don't touch you and I don't want to, and we don't do that. And I started talking about, hey, why don't we just help you with what I offer? I do strength conditioning to help you relieve your injuries and what injuries you might have, touch on their pain points. And the funny thing is, all of them would say, no, I don't want to do any movement. I want you to do it for me. Very interesting. Anyway, so I ran this business called Reflex Physiology, and I wanted to do more powerlifting and personal training, and the exercise or the traditional exercise physiology stuff did not interest me at all. All we really did was follow the ACSM, make sure you're doing your heart rate maxes between a given range, and make sure you do your loadings to be a certain amount of exercises per day, make sure it's about this of your 70% to 80% rep max. I'm like, cool. So it's really bland. What about actually doing things where people belong, where people want to do something? And so that's why I thought to myself, well, powerlifting has given me such a community to work with. And I met so many friends through the gym. I was like, why can't people who are so forth sick and referred through from their GPs also have that kind of place to belong? They need to have somewhere where they can forget about things that are happening outside, come in, and you know what, we do have an exercise class for them, but hell, they probably just want to talk and have fun with Margaret down there, or Bob, or whatever John's name is over there too. Because I think when it comes to exercise is great, everyone should exercise. But what it should be is about being in a place where you belong. Because for some reason, no matter where I was, ever since the age of 18 when I started going to the gym, I never really felt like I belonged somewhere apart from the gym. And it could have been because of my extreme hobbies and my lifestyles, but I never went to the point where we needed to go out for a drink. I mean, I do every now and then, I still do. Or to the point where I wanted to do something else. I've always just wanted to focus on me. I wanted to focus on my goals. And then I met people who helped me along those goals because it was their goal too. So we looked after one another, and I thought, why don't these people have that? So when I was at this gym running Reflex Physiology, I wanted to treat it more like a strength conditioning or a performance, or even just saying that I wanted to run it more like an exercise sports science consulting. You know, anything you need, we've got it. But when you tend to be a person who wants to do everything, you tend to get nothing. You chase everything, you end up with nothing. The best analogy I can think of is when you get a dog or a puppy, you throw 2 tennis balls, and with best of luck, they'll probably end up with no tennis balls. So that's the funniest thing ever. And what I wanted to do with that was focus on the powerlifting. Now, I just didn't think I had it in me, because at that point in time, I was the strongest I was the fittest I was, not fittest, I was the strongest I was in powerlifting. I was in the community, I was still competing, I was still coaching, but I just didn't think I had something that was appealing. And I just didn't know what to do with it. And I started getting frazzled, and I just burnt. I kept working. I think I worked 7 days a week for almost 2 years. I thought to myself, maybe I might need a holiday. So I told myself, look, maybe I can't pay for a house, I can't have the lifestyle I'm looking for. I started stressing about like everything, and I overstressed. So I took a 1 month holiday to Japan with some friends, and I met up with another friend that I basically just followed through powerlifting on Instagram. So that's Noreen. And I realized that she also did a lot of travel. And I asked her, like, why did you always travel by yourself? She goes, it was a very life-opening experience. So I said, you know what, I'll do some travel by myself around Japan. I did a few weeks with some friends, and then I did 4 days by myself. And then after that, I met up with Noreen, who happened to be in Korea at the time. And then after that, I had another few days by myself. And just during that time, it really was eye-opening, because what do I want? And I said, I really want to be able to have a community where people had the same goal and had the same lifestyle. Because if you tend to hang around the people that are chasing those goals that you also have in mind, you end up being like them. So I really wanted that. How was I going to get that? I don't know. So I thought to myself, when I go back home to Perth, I actually can't wait to work. The whole time I was by myself in Japan, I was actually writing in my journals what I want to do, what I want to learn, what I want to do more of, what am I not doing good in, and we'll work on that. It didn't work. I actually failed quite hard. But during that time, it made me realize that if I want to be able to be someone different, I also need to hang out with different people. And that's actually where I met Nancy. And Nancy and I are very alike in terms of personality, but we're also very different. And she gave me another dimension, and I told her, hey, look, I'm actually thinking about not doing this whole exercise physiology thing anymore. I'm actually thinking about being a chiropractor. And I enrolled for chiropractic science at the time. I was doing a lot of research as well about what I want to do with it. And I thought to myself, it's just going to help me get my foot in the door to tell people about exercise and how to help people, and we can build that club and so forth and so forth. And it was another 5 years of uni. I'd be 31 when I graduated, so I'm 28 now. So I would have been 31 when I graduated before I can do that. And she goes, why do you would not do that? And this is the best question that she's ever asked me. Do you believe in it? And I thought, well, I don't not believe it. She goes, but do you believe it? And I said, I don't not believe it. I just think exercise is going to help them along the way. She goes, you're already doing that. You're already there. Why not work on that? And I was like, yes, I should. There's a massive fly right now. Ugh. Anyway, so I wanted to do it. I just didn't believe I could. And I went back to work and I was like, nah, I'm burnt. That's it. I see a full-time job. I'm going to apply for it. It looks like a great company to work for. And I got the job. I thought it was the bee's knees. I literally, when I got the phone call that I got the job, I literally just had to sit down and be like, yes, I found it. I absolutely found the job that I absolutely want. I want to stay with. I want to keep it. And I'm going to have the lifestyle that I look for. So when I got there, I got the job. I signed up for it. And I was working Monday to Friday. I thought that was a luxury. Until a few months later, I realized that I was waking up, I was angry, I was upset, I was depressed, I wasn't exercising. That was the first year where I never exercised at all, because it was just impossible. I'd be waking up at 5 a.m. and I'll get home at 6 p.m. and I just thought, what am I here for? And I wasn't sure if it was the job, I wasn't sure if it was the hours, I wasn't sure if it was my mindset, where I just found myself being in a place where I didn't want to exercise anymore. And I thought to myself, how can I be called an exercise physiologist or a strength conditioning coach or a rehab specialist when I can't rehab? I'm already broken. I can't exercise because it's my title. I should be exercising. And I was also just not in the mental state to be in. And so every single day, I just kept saying, what do I want to do? What's something missing in my life? I'll try and fill it with another hobby. I'd make something else for it. And then one day, Nancy and I go, do you even like work? I'm like, honestly, I just feel so burnt. How can I enjoy work when it's burning me out? She goes, what would you like to do? And it's like, I think I can do something. I really want to be able to do something with what we did at Reflex Physiology, but I want to make it better. I want it as 2.0. I want this the best thing ever. And so she goes, let's write down some ideas. And this was probably one of the best experiences ever. On a Sunday, and we never usually drink. It was really funny. We would every Sunday go to my house, we'll buy some Moscato, we'll buy some sours. I don't think it was sours at the time. So it was like just Moscato, some wine, whatever it might be, have a graze, and we put a whiteboard in my room. And we just write down every single thing that we wanted to do. What are we going to call it? What are your competitors like? Who would your competitors be? Where do you want to be based? What do you want to do? What's your service? Who are your potential target demographics and markets and everything? And now that I know what I know now, and knowing what I did back then, I didn't specify this as much as I thought I did. I actually specified it a lot more now because we do this every single month, every single quarter, whatever it might have been. But back then, we were just writing things. And if I looked at it right now, I'd be like, that is not up to scratch. But we did it every single Sunday for at least, I'd say, about a month. And we wrote down everything that we could do for this business. And I thought to myself, you know what? If I want to make that much money, I don't think I can do this. We're going to pay rent, we're going to do this, we're going to pay employees and all that kind of stuff. No, it's too much, I can't do it. So I went back to work, did my thing, stayed there for maybe another 2 months, tried to tell myself that I really enjoyed it. And then something just ticked. I woke up, I was like, I don't train, I don't exercise, I don't get my weekends, I'm stressed from them, I'm exhausted from the weekends, I'm more exhausted from the week as opposed to me working 7 days a week. And I asked myself, why is that? Why am I more exhausted working 5 days a week than I am working 7 days a week like I was at Reflex? And it kicks me because there was nothing to motivate me to get out of bed. Absolutely nothing. Because there was no one around me. And actually, as I'm looking at my Instagram live as well, I can see people like Alyssa, hi. She was also another factor. Like she and I used to work at this gym. I'm not going to say any brands just in case if there's any legalities and problems. And we'd go across the road and we'd just talk about what we want. You know, what do you want out of work and everything? And it makes life so much easier when you have someone like that. And that's why I really, really encourage people to work with people who motivate you as well. And for some reason, when you work in a gym with other personal trainers, everyone dreams big and it's great and it's powerful. But when I was just at this other workplace, it just felt like that was it. There was just no dreaming anymore. It was as if you weren't allowed to dream. And sometimes I think when I meet, and I mean this very, very respectfully, when I meet people in uni, I want to see how big they can dream because that's a great thing. And I love it. So I always make sure that I wanted to hang around with people who are very, very much encouraging and dreamt big. And there was just no motivation, even though I was in this place that gave me a somewhat 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. It was great for other people, that's absolutely fine. But for me, I just thought to myself, I can't not do this. And I started waking up about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, kind of like what I do now, in the morning. And I just had to call Nancy. I'm like, I think I have to quit. And she said, you can do it. I was like, okay, we're going to the meeting. I never did. And then she goes to another meeting. And then after that, we just dulled it down. We didn't even talk about it. And then I called her, I was like, I did it. I was like, okay, what's the plan? I was like, I don't know. There is no plan. So we had 2 weeks to find something for me to do. Now, one of the things I really didn't want to do is kind of poo where I eat. And I train at this gym, which is lovely. I'll actually say the name, Genesis Bentley. Really lovely gym, good facilities. I trained there as a member for about 5 years. I did not want to work there, no matter what. But I ended up working there because I needed somewhere to work. And I'd say it's still luckily one of my favorite gyms that I'll go to. I'd go there now if I could, if I didn't own this place. But that was where I worked. And I go, this is what we're going to do again. We're going to go back into a gym and we're just going to look at appointments and get the lifestyle that we need. And it's just funny because I never try to work at gyms that I train at, but I end up always training at a gym and working there. So I worked there for about 2 years. Really good time once again, being with people who motivate you and being with people who dream big or being just with people in general. Because in the gym, when you work there, you meet hundreds of people and you just never know who you're going to talk to. And so working there was good fun, and we were working there for about maybe 5 months before we went to Hawaii. And once again, Nancy and I are big workaholics. We love to work. Working to me is a privilege. And when we went there, we would go and eat, we'd go to the beach, and then we'd go, oh, let's do some journal time, or let's do a laptop time, let's do some photo. She will do photo editing, and I'll do journal writing, or whatever it might be. I might do a reading of a book. And I talked to her, and I was like, I can't wait to go back to work. What are you going to do differently? I'm like, yeah, well, to be honest, I've been pushing the personal training a lot. And I love that personal training because to me, that's the same thing as exercise physiology if you're doing it correctly. You're preventing injuries, you're looking after the lifestyle, you're looking at the biomechanics, you're making sure that they're healthy. That's what we do, right? It's no different from metabolic syndromes. But the only thing is, it's not gone through a certain Medicare system. So I said to her, I actually haven't dwelled too much in that area. I should probably do something about it because we're in this area where I'm doing the same thing as I did with reflex, and you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So I said, let's break the cycle. Let's do that. Let's do some networking and meet some doctors and so forth. So I did that when I got back from Hawaii. That would make it April last year, if I'm not wrong. It's April last year and I'm wearing my Hawaii shirt. That's awesome. So we came back and business boomed. I couldn't believe it. And it went up by, I'm going to say almost threefold or fourfold. And I started getting busy and I getting booked out. And then there was an interaction where I went to a medical center to meet some doctors, and the idea of them going, hey, would you actually be open to coming to us and renting a room from us, an office? It's a 45 square meter office. It's actually Momentum 1.0 for those people following the show. And I said, yes, why not? I would take it for 2 days a week, and I was meant to share it with another physio. Now, unfortunately, things got a little bit frazzled. Things got really crossed over. And that room ended up being off the table and not offered to us anymore. And I just thought to myself, I feel like there's something in there. I really do, because being in my own office means I can run more things. So I said to them, hey, look, I'll take that room and I'll just go with it. And I told Nancy about it as well, because this was a team decision. We always make sure things are in teams. And Nancy goes, I think you should do it. And this is what I mean, like, if it wasn't for her, I would think I would have been like, no, I can only see the failure. But for some reason at that point in time, I could see the success, and it was sounding so good. It's like, wow, I get my own little place, we can do some circuits and all that kind of stuff, we can do your class, all the diabetes systems, all the classes that we do, which we call proactive, and we could even do like a semi-private personal training, which we call build. And I just did not think it would be possible. And when we got the room, it wasn't, because it was way too small. It was only 45 square meters, and given saying that there was a kitchen sink in there and a table that probably took 2 square meters. But we made it work, and we were there from last year. I like to say it was last year, June or July, and we made it work, and we were booked out, and I was once again just doing the same thing though. I was busy, I was loving work, but I was in at 6 a.m. and I'd be out by 8 o'clock. And I was thinking to myself, I'm doing this now Monday to Saturday. Now I'm not getting burnt out as much, but I just thought to myself, this can't be the only thing. So that's where we started looking at hiring people and treating it more as a business. So this is where things were like, don't fail the same way that you failed before. Because if you're going to fail the same way before, then you just done the whole thing to get busy, to burn out, to just burn down, if anything. So we really looked into trying to do things differently. And now, because I've been doing this for so long, I've been admin, I've been receptionist, I'm payroll technically, I'm also the sole practitioner, I'm also the person who goes out and meets people, and then you get slammed with 60 or 70 appointments per week. You're like, I can't do this anymore. But also at the same time, it's very hard to be able to get other people to come in. So that was some of the things that I found really hard. And so from there, we were able to grow, and we've had a team as well. So Megan is one of our team members here who has helped us a lot with the admin side. And I found that such a relief, a lot of weight off my shoulders. And at this point in time, I actually went to Singapore to go see my grandparents and my family there. And I looked at Nancy and I said, well, isn't this a bit of a luxury? Like, we still hit all our month to target dates and we're on holiday in Singapore. And it was just made things more open that we could grow more if we needed to, or if we needed to take a holiday, it wasn't so stressful. And then after that, it came to December, where it was Christmas, and same story. Able to take time off, able to relax, and able to work. And like I said, I'm a workaholic. I love to just write journals. It's actually kind of bad because I like to write blogs and everything when it's like in the middle of a dinner, or saying that I will need to grab my phone out and write something into it onto a notepad so I don't forget it. And sometimes actually I need to not do this. I will write a blog before I go to sleep, and I'll wake up and I think about that blog all night, or saying that I will dream about writing that blog and wake up and forget it, which is the worst thing. Yeah, it happens. So December came, and then January came, and then obviously, unfortunately, with the whole COVID thing that's happening at the start of the year, things got a little bit worrying because business was starting to close. We had to pause in the fitness industry, and also our systems here in our industry started to become a bit of a worry, and people stopped coming to see me in their appointments. Now, for us, we were very fortunate because our overheads were low and our standard of living is also quite low. Like we don't splurge on a lot of things. And from there, it was about 6 to 8 weeks of lockdown, and I have a bad feeling about saying this, but I actually had fun because I was able to read books, I was able to study, I was able to do things that I'd never been able to do. And now we came back and we go, hey, look, I know exactly where we need to go with the direction where we are right now. And from there, our lease was not coming up, but I wanted to know that I could scale things to larger if I needed to, and if I wanted to as well. And that's where I had the idea of the proactive class, which I didn't formalize at that point in time, where we have people between the ages of, say, 45 to 65 who would like to get a little bit fitter. And then for those who are a little bit older, we put them into another one called Proactive Plus, where we focus on balance, osteoarthritis, but also the community aspect. And this goes back to the message where I said people need to know that they belong somewhere. And when it came to somewhere we're belonging, we make sure that we have people fist bumping, and I thought that was just the coolest thing ever, seeing people of the older generations fist bump, because like, what's this? When they were going for the traditional high five. We do a rally up as well, so hands in the middle, and we shout out momentum. And it was just the coolest experience being able to see that and actually feel people in the room love it as well. And as I say that, we had our oldest and newest member, who is 87 years old, come in, first exercise class ever, and now we have Ryan as well, by the way. And Ryan was taking this class, and she was going around just high-fiving and fist-bumping everyone. It was just amazing. It was awesome. And now we have our semi-private personal training service as well, which is our build program. We've capped it off at this point in time for the year, but we have 20 members now where we can just train and look after each other and see how we can grow with each other as well. So from there, what we're looking to do is how can we grow again? But that's not about what we're here to talk about. Really, I'm just talking about how momentum started. And all I can say is, for anyone who's out there, if I failed several times before, so I'm going to say I failed with Sean Co personal training, which is my 1.0, and then I failed again with reflex physiology. Don't be afraid to fail once more if you have learned from your mistakes. And I had to identify what my mistakes were. My mistakes were the fact that I thought that I was the only person who could do something. I thought I was the only person who could do that. And also, I was also too proud to ask for help. So now that I can have that support system, I have Nancy to rely on. I've got the team here with Megan and Ryan that I can rely on and lean on as well. And even saying that, I've got a business coach now who teaches me things as well. So thank you, Dan. But it's also about making sure that you keep accountable. And one of the books that I read, or two of the books that I read that I highly recommend for everyone, the first one is Extreme Ownership. It's just such a good book to understand that whatever happens and will happen is going to happen because of you. You need to take ownership of what happens. And that's something that I still struggle with and I really want to learn. And another one that I highly recommend for anyone out there is, if I can remember it now, it's The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's an easy reading book, and it all makes sense at the end of the day. Because to summarize it, why don't we do anything? It's because we may be a little bit scared to be disliked for trying it. And that's kind of why I'm here right now on Instagram Live, when I could have easily have done this in my own bedroom or in this office by myself and not be live and be scared to be made a fool. But if I'm telling people to go and try and squat with a barbell on their back with 6 other people in the room, they might feel scared. Now, this not be relative to us, because I've been squatting with a barbell on my back for the last 12 years. But this is something I've never done in my life. I've never gone Instagram Live and decided to talk for a good 40 minutes. So thank you for those who are still tuned in, because this is something completely new to me. But I want you guys to know that if you can just help yourself with that, or find a support group to help you with it, there is no reason why you can't be yourself. So I'm going to sum it up at that now. Thank you so much for those guys who may have possibly stayed for the whole 40 minutes or 41 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you ever want to find out more about what we do at Momentum in general, head over to our website, which is www.momentum-active.com. Follow us on Instagram, which is momentum.active. And also, don't be afraid to let me know if you enjoyed this, because I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Who would have thought? Talking all day. So thank you everyone, guys. I am about to go home because it's 3:49 on a Friday. I'm going to go see Nancy. Thanks for your time, and that's all I got for you. Thank you. Peace.